Hello and welcome to Rando Rob. Each week on Rando Rob, I'll be showing and discussing one item from my large collection of collections. New shows appear every Monday, and throughout the week, I'll be adding older episodes of Rando Rob that were previously only available to my Patreon subscribers. You can watch episodes of Rando Rob on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. Just look for the Rando Rob playlist. Audio versions of the show are available on my website at podcast.robohara.com or through iTunes. Just search for Rando Rob. Thanks for watching or listening, and I hope you enjoy this vintage episode of Rando Rob. Anyway, so as I've been cleaning and moving things around or whatever, as you know, I like to pick up little things and tell stories about them. And one of the things I've been doing is on this wall is a whole wall full of shelves, and there are books and different things up there. And so I've been resorting my books and putting things in there. And there's one book. I got bookshelves in 3 different places in this room. One is just for paperbacks, and most of them are really old. I mean, like paperbacks that I had as a kid. Like I've got a bunch of choose your own adventure books and things like that, and other kind of paperbacks. The books that are on the shelf on the other wall back here are all things that I've read and stuff, but that I enjoy. There's a lot of nonfiction there. But on this wall over here, the bookshelf, there's only one little small area for the bookshelf. And it contains books about writing. So there's style guides, and there's the Save the Cat series. There's 3 Save the Cat books. Maybe there's 4, but I have all those. I have nope, that's my computer timing out behind me. See, the work computer. It's a problem. If it was over here, I would have seen it. But at the very end of the bookshelf is book number 1. It's the very first book that goes on the bookshelf, and there's a reason for that. And so I'm going to tell you that story real quick. In 2004, which is, golly gee, almost 20 years ago. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it when I start saying dates like that. In 2004, I had all these stories. And actually, and I've told this, and this is actually in the preface of Commodore Gear, I think. Maybe told slightly a different way, but I was on these forums, like video game forums and stuff, and people would ask questions. They would say like, oh, what's the first computer you ever owned? What's the first video game you ever played? What's your favorite video game? And every 6 months or so, new people would come and join the forum and ask the exact same questions, and the same conversations would come up. And so I thought, you know what would be funny is if I just, not funny, but possibly convenient, is if I wrote a text file and captured those stories. And so when somebody said, hey, what was the first computer you ever owned? I could just look it up, cut, paste something, and put it in there, you know? And then, so what happened was I started capturing more stories, and I had all these different stories and facts, and I started writing them all down. And I decided that it was too big for one document. And so I was going to put it almost like a wiki. And then I started thinking, hey, I'm going to write a wiki about myself. And all the stuff, you know, there'd be an index on the side, and you could click on it. And so if you wanted to say like video games, and then under video games, it would say like favorite game and all these things, and you could click on it and you would get a story on the other side of the screen. And so that was kind of what I was envisioning. But then I started thinking maybe I could turn it into a whole big document. Like I could write it all as one document. And I didn't really know what to do with it. I knew I wanted to write it. I knew I wanted to put it all together, but I just didn't have this big vision. And so around that time, I went to a book sale. There was I had this friend, and he had discovered that in this area in Tulsa, and Tulsa is 2 hours northeast of me, and Tulsa is the second biggest city in Oklahoma City, or in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City is the biggest city. So you either, I mean, I would say, this is not fair to say, but it's kind of like Oklahoma City and then Tulsa, and then Oklahoma City has all these cities around it, and Tulsa has a lot of cities around it. But we found a area in Tulsa that had a whole bunch of different used bookstores, like 7 or 8 used bookstores. And so occasionally we would drive to Tulsa just on a weekend, something to do. And this friend and I would go visit used bookstores and see what we could find, And while I was on one of those trips, and I on the way up there, I think in the car probably, I was talking to this guy, and I was like, man, I got this vision. I just don't know how to put it all together. I don't know what to do. And so we went into this bookstore, and I was looking at it. It was like, I don't know if it was the cheap book section or what. It was some book section that was up at the front, and I ran across this book. This book is called Maybe You Should Write a Book. And it is filled with short stories and little essays. By the way, if you could see my hands, which have dried black paint on them, I tried getting that off earlier. I showed you the picture of the thing over there, and I built that last night, and I spray painted the legs black. And so now I've got black spray paint in my hands. Anyway, it says, it may surprise you, this is the blurb on the back, it may surprise you that some of these now famous authors who contribute to this book were high school dropouts. It may surprise you also that included among them are former housewives, school teachers, advertising copywriters, reporters, truck drivers, lawyers, salesmen, doctors, factory workers, a miner, secretaries, construction workers, a chemist, a lumberjack, a sawmill hand, a circus roughneck, a tourist guide, waiters, and taxi drivers. If it is your ambition to write a book and you want encouragement, help, and information about writing and publishing, your first step should be to buy and read this book. And so some of the names listed on the front here that have articles inside there's Isaac Asimov, I see. There's Peg Bracken. There's Dorothy Eden. Trying to find some that Louis L'Amour is in here. John MacDonald. A lot of famous names in here. And so anyway, I believe I'm trying to see the there's a something tag for Somebody Books. I'm not sure who it is, but it has a price tag on here of $3.95. And so anyway, I don't think that there was some divine intervention that put this book in my path or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was just a coincidence, but it just happened to be on a day that I was like, what should I do with that stuff? And I saw this book. Maybe you should write. And it's the you part is kind of bigger. And so it's like, they have those sentences where you could, depending on which word that you stress, it could have like, maybe you should write a book as opposed to a pamphlet, or maybe you should write a book instead of read a book. It's kind of silly. But the biggest part on there, as you can see, is you. I mean, that's the part that stood out to me, is maybe you should write a book. And I thought maybe I should write a book, And so I paid my $3.95 and I read this book. And so much of it is dated and out of date. I want to look and see what the publishing date of this book is. Because I remember there was one that was like, one piece of advice was, you should always keep extra paper for your typewriter, things like that, Let's see, published originally these are the articles. So they got articles from different people and published it. I mean, it's kind of like a compilation, of different things. But this was altogether done in 1977. But it shows the copyright of a lot of the stories, like some are 1964, 1970, things like that. So, you're not going to find a lot about word processing in here. You're not going to find a lot about setting up your blog on WordPress to promote your book. But in general, the stories are good. And really, it wasn't about the stories at all. It wasn't about looking for specific information. What it was about, though, was just that title and just that moment in time where I was like, I don't know what to do. And I saw that little headline that said, maybe you should write a book. And that was just that thing that I needed that went, I think maybe I should write a book. And the whole way home, I thought about it and stuff. And, before I had never thought about organizing those stories in a narrative format, but that's what I did. And so that project eventually became Commodore, my first book, which was published in 2006, which I can't believe was 15 years ago. I can't believe it. I mean, I remember working on it. I remember how excited I was when I got back the first copies. I remember taking 30 copies, which I thought was an amazingly low number to a video game show, and coming back with like 20. And people wanted to talk to me about writing a book, but they didn't want to buy my book. And it wasn't until it was reviewed on Slashdot like a month later that the next day I got like 100 orders, and that really started the ball rolling, you know. So but anyway, so I keep this, and I've kept this book, and you can see it's not in good condition. There's some the book cover is torn on both the front and the back. There's little rips and pieces that are off there, and it kind of on the front has a little like a wavered feeling, like maybe it has somebody set a Coke on it or something. It has a little water damage possibly or something, but you know that, and I mean the book itself is fine. It's just the outside jacket that's a little messed up, but I keep it. And every time I go over to that little bookshelf and I look at the stuff, this is the first one that's there. I mean, spine out. Maybe you should write a book. And I think about that. I think about all the time I've wasted not writing books, you know, and it kind of inspires me. Like I go, why aren't I not writing books? You know, maybe I should write another book. So anyway, I just happened to be reorganizing stuff, and I was over in that area, and that caught my eye, and I thought, you know what, that'd be a good little thing to talk about. So sorry for not getting this out on Sunday. I will send the link out tonight. I'm working on this is a Sprite Castle week. Let's see, what was You Don't Know Flack last week? I should probably know that. The Mister. I talked all about the Mister, which is right here. So I think on Sprite Castle, I might be doing the Castles of Dr. Creep. I had a request for that a long time. I had a couple of requests for that, and it's not a game that I played much as a kid, and I was playing it yesterday, and it seems like it's kind of hard. I'm not good at hard puzzle games, but I may be doing that. I'm not really decided. But don't forget that tomorrow night is stream night at 8 p.m. Central. So if you want to watch whatever I'm playing on the Commodore 64, go to twitch.tv/Rob O'Hara at 8 o'clock Central Time, and you can see whatever game I'm playing. You can hop on and talk to me and ask questions and all that stuff. And I think that's everything I've got. So thank you guys for all your support. Don't forget, if you're one of my 16-bit supporters, that you can ask me a question, and I will answer it on one of the episodes of You Don't Know Flack. I think I'm all out of questions. So if you want to send me in a question or something like that, I will get those queued up. I think that's everything. So thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Thank you for listening to an old man ramble about video games and computers and stuff he loved as a kid. I appreciate it all. Talk to you guys soon.